Now, to go back to this reverse breathing thing, how it can be done, there are two major forms of reverse breathing. One is where you take the bottom of your belly and you literally compress it, go to here, and then you come back on the exhale. You actually stretch it out. And that just for a second so you can see this. Let's see, I'll put these pips a little bit lower so you can see it. That would look like this, but I'm not going to deal with this right now because in terms of developing Tanjong, it won't work. Look. See my hands closed? Watch what my belly's doing. Can you see how it's all coming to the center? And we'll be doing all that stuff in Crete. Now, but that's not the one that's particularly useful in the beginning for opening this up. The one that is more useful and more direct is this. Now, well, let me do this first. Wait a second. Let me have you understand what's going on before I show it to you, because I would have to say that you can, if you just watch this, it's pretty easy to miss what's going on, even when it's right in front of you. This is what's called a C curve. See how it's a C? Close anyway, right? Take the bottom of the, if you take the bottom of your belly, starting from your dantian, what do you have between your stomach muscles and your spine? What's there? It's your internal organs. Intestines, genitals on the bottom, liver, spleen in the middle, lungs, heart at the top. Yes? Now, what happens is that if you take this area here and you use your muscles and you compress in, you'll go in a certain distance. And then after that distance, you actually compress your organs. You compress your organs into a ball, you lift it up the spine, to right underneath your diaphragm, and then you pop that pressure out. In, up, out. Right? That's on the inhale. Right? Now what this action does, just in terms of your breath, is that if this doesn't create the space for your diaphragm to drop, let's just say probably it has a major issue. The tissue's not working. But then what happens, so we have a ball, right? So here, look, watch my hand. I'm just going to do this kind of as an exaggeration. See how it goes into a ball? Up we go, over to here. Then on the exhale, we take it back, down, and we pop it open. So look, it was open, right? Pop it in, up it goes to the top, pull it back down, and then let it pop open and expand. So do you understand the point? Now I'll show you what it looks like on a body. But if you don't understand what it is, all you're going to do is see a belly moving around, and you're not going to figure out what's going on. So if we take this here, just watch. So here's the stomach. Normally if you breathe, what does normal breathing go? Your belly gets bigger, your belly gets smaller, right? Now I should mention that reverse breathing, eventually the purpose is that this motion of closing is going to close all your joints, and it's going to close the space between your spine. As a matter of fact, when you close, what that does is it takes the chi essentially from the base of your spine up to the top, and on the way down it shoots it back down again. And if those of you know what a microcosmic orbit is, what it does is it brings it up to here, and on the way down it sends it down to the bottom. All these things happen at once. And you don't have to visualize any of it. It will happen if you do the thing. But here, look. So what I'm just going to do is this. Close, open, right? Or I could just, how about I just do this? Does that work for close, open? Okay, so watch. See how it popped out? See? Big, small. Small, big. Now the way this works, for example, if you're doing P-Tren, is that, so for example, as your hand goes here, what would you be doing? See I'm coming up? Yes or no? Now watch. Still up. Okay? So now, what I want you to do is just to try this. I don't say whether you succeed or fail, but this is part of it. And I should mention, I said those are the two ways you do reverse breathing. There are no other two ways. Now, so just try it. Put one hand on your solar plexus, one hand on your belly. Inhale. Back, up, and out. Now you can see why I wanted you rolling your stomachs over lunch. Why during lunch I was asking you to do this. Because you got to soften up your belly, or it's, you know, it's not going to move when you try and do this. And then down, down. When you exhale, what do? Back, down, extend. You breathe in, pull the ball up and push it out. So in other words, you're doing this. For example, yoga, or actually not yoga, in classic Tantra and yoga in India, they have a system of 7 chakras. Actually, in some yogic system is a system of 9 chakras. But anyway, if we talk about that being 7 and we talk about your perineum being 1, the heart chakra is usually number 4, and Manipura is actually this chakra. Okay? Although sometimes they make it your belly button. But it actually, but the Chinese thing, they have 3 dandians, and they do have here, this is the heart, but what they call the lower heart center is Tanjong. Now what is Tanjong about? Do you understand? This is where, right here, where you're going out, you see this? This is where Tanjong is located. So what is some things Tanjong's about? Because it's about a lot of things. Call it a chakra, call it a secondary dandiya, and whatever term does it for you. What you have is this. It is, if you want to call it anything, call it the worldly chakra. Call it the worldly energy center. It is where, when a human being is able to manifest in the world, whatever that means, that's where they get the juice. And the most salient qualification of that is the ability to persevere and go through obstacles. Now I ask a very, very simple question. Are some of you here successful in what you do? Okay? Fine. Okay? And everybody here has been successful in something. For sure. If you're a human being, that usually happens one way or another. I ask you a second question. Did anybody ever get success without having to persevere through a lot of obstacles? Have you ever met anybody who really was successful, competent, accomplished, able to do, who didn't have to go through a lot of obstacles in their life? Or in their chosen profession, love life, whatever it happens to be. Many of you here have had relationships, yes? The boy-girl thing as far as it all goes? I have a question. Have any of you not found that it takes some oomph to go through the obstacles in having a good relationship? Have you ever met anybody who's ever had a relationship where it is always just smooth and hunky-dory and there's no problems? I don't say you, I say have you ever met anybody? Will you all agree that this is just part of life? And part of the difference between whether people have, at a very fundamental level, some satisfaction with their existence, I didn't say total satisfaction, but some satisfaction with their existence, is whether or not they can go through these obstacles without being stopped or being crushed. Is that a fair comment? Well, Tanjong is what governs it. Now, everything in Xingyi is about this, but this is very helpful. So, this type of breathing to go up and down is particularly useful in that respect. And the thing about it is that, you know, if you just kind of breathe, I'll kind of do this in another way. If you just kind of breathe any old way, you can kind of forget you're breathing, right? But to actually make your guts come like this takes actually a little bit of oomph. And every time you do it, you feel it and you know you did it. And if anything is pulling on your diaphragm, you have a problem with any internal organ. If your mind is disturbed in any way, it shows up in this breathing pattern. Can you all hear me? And the sheer fact that you're building it up, and no matter what little petty aggravations you get in life or major aggravations you get in life, you keep on going. It's very helpful for that. Okay? How are we doing? Now, once you kind of really get this opened up, the next corollary to this would be, does it actually matter whether you do this type of an opening and closing or this type of an opening and closing? The answer would be no. But if your thing is about being able to negotiate and navigate obstacles, this is very helpful. This is more helpful in the beginning than this sort of a breathing pattern. How are we doing? Yes, no? So everyone got the idea? So, here's what we're going to do. Remember the thing we did about breathing and everything? So you tell me, what do you, I'm just going to make my hands so you can see them. This is another kind of Santi someone needs to. Okay, look. Now you just say whether I'm inhaling or exhaling. And so what's happening here? And when am I inhaling now? Am I inhaling or exhaling? So your energy comes into you as you inhale, and it brings it up. Your energy goes out. Your energy comes in as you inhale, yes? Remember this? It goes out as you exhale. How are we doing? Yes, no, no, yes? Okay, now what you're all going to do is you're all going to stand up and you're going to do this for 10 minutes. Remember, your breath, your energy, and your mind become one thing. Your mind not only is inside your body, it's inside your energy, and your mind actually needs to be inside your mind. And this is another reason, what I just said, why sometimes this is called Santi, or three risings. Santi has many meanings. This is another one that has to do with the way you look at your hand and what you do when you look at your hand. Look at your finger. That's very important. Your finger's on your center line, and that's where you look. There you go. Now I'm going to do something that's not from Xingyi per se, but is from the Taoist lineage that gave birth to all this originally. Si jian jing zhi yi er neng wen ling zhi ji zhen ye neng cheng zi jian zhi jiao zhi yi neng si jian de yi neng si jiao nian qian zhi ni neng si jian wei shi jian ling nian dang si jian nian wei si jiang nian ang si jing ning zhi si yar feng ling jian de yan zi 为 There now are another one falling, 3 fallings. The chi falls to the dandian. So the center of the body can be the center of all your movement. The edges of the shoulder fall, so the intention is pure, sinking the shoulders in other words. And the elbows fall, so the shoulders can be the root of the elbow. Both the shoulder thing and the elbows is done in Tai Chi, for example, as Chen Zhen Dui Zhou, which means sink the shoulders in. I don't know exactly how you call Jui. It doesn't really mean drop, but dig is a better word. You drop the elbows. You have your head, right? And your whole upper body. If the chi of the brain really flows down into the lower dandian, the brain will do what the Chinese call inhabiting the body. There is, I'll take this from another way because it might make sense. Tibetan Buddhism has this whole tantric thing, and what they talk about is, watch me, body, speech is pretty obvious, it's your throat, mind, because in the center of the heart is where the mind's located. But they say body. Why do they point to the head and say body? I mean, isn't that your body? Isn't that your body? Well, fact of the matter is that physicality in every shape, manner, or form ultimately depends upon the plasticity of the brain. Depends upon, if your brain, from a pure whatever level, if this organ doesn't tell the rest of them what to do, they don't do it. It's that simple. But it's more than that. A huge chunk of human energy is in the brain. And because it gets in the brain, it doesn't evenly distribute throughout the body. And part of the consequence of this, beside making people overly mental, what I mean by overly mental? A lot of people today do not live in their bodies. They do not live in the real world. They live in a virtual reality world where they kind of see everything from their brain. And frankly speaking, they could be inside a computer and not notice the difference. Because if it's only the fact that you're generating thoughts is what it means to live on this planet, heaven help us, today they can download human thought into a computer. And believe me, it's being worked on. So there is something, but your brain, all your energy, has a tendency in the human body to raise into the head and not evenly distribute throughout the whole body. And part of the consequence of that is the brain doesn't even work that well. Because what allows your brain to work is the energy circulating from your whole body and going back down. That's what actually gives your brain the juice to whether it can operate 100% capacity or various levels of less. So you have this issue that your chi has to drop into your belly. Now, in all Asian martial arts, which all came out of China, it doesn't matter if it's Japan, Korea, whatever, even Thailand, it really all originally, all this thought came out of China. That's where it came from. The Japanese got it, you know, 1,000 years before any of it was talked about in Japan. This stuff was going on, you know, full bore in China. That's where it actually came from, okay? And as in all technology transfers, sometimes the transfer is better than the original, but more often than not, it's not. It's actually less. That's where you have the term watering down. But if you take this, the point here is that if you can get this sense of the energy in your head and your torso, dropping down, sitting and resolving here, the body, for want of a better word, becomes coherent, it coheses. Now this is one of the most fundamental techniques in Xingyi and in Bagua and in Tai Chi and in meditation, in that if you want your entire body, if you want your brain to truly, your whatever you want to call your mind, the brain part of the mechanics of it, if you want that to connect with the rest of you, you have to be able to get the energy from your brain to come in, to go to your lower dantian, and from there spread down to your legs, so that it's the only way your brain can inhabit your body. Now, before I go to the next two of these things, this is one that I want you all to again test. And what I'm going to have you do, and it's a very hard thing, because what does the human body do? And this is a corollary to everything else. Tell me something. When you get really tense, do you relax, or does your body start scrunching upwards? Scrunches upwards, doesn't it? Tell me something. Does anybody here think that they are dramatically more efficient, productive, can do whatever it is they do when they're tense rather than they're relaxed? I mean, if you had to stake your life on your performance, would you rather be relaxed or tense? Why? Stamina, and things move faster. You want to slow down the human system? Make it tense enough and it slows down. The more it feels like it's speeding up, the more it's actually slowing down. And relax, you don't feel like you're doing much, but you're much faster at every level. And it doesn't matter, it's physical, emotional, you name it. Okay? So the trick here is that you have to get your chi to fall, just like water coming down you, until it's stabilized in your lower dantian. I mean, part of it is you get part of your mind, your lower dantian, but you actually want to get the chi and the blood. There's a secondary corollary. This will just get the blood that goes into your brain to come down a lot easier. But it's more than that. This is what allows your body to cohere and start becoming strong. So what we're going to do, and the exercise again, come here, same exercise, doesn't really change. You want to find out this is so. So get in your Santi, whatever it is, and just, you know, do that. And so now here's the next thing. So you just kind of, okay, fine. So you don't do this, right? And you just lean on the person. That's fine. Just lean on them. You know, just so it's the same amount of pressure. Because if you're pushing, who's to say if you're going to push harder or easier anytime, right? But if you just boom, put your full weight on them, well, you know, your weight's not going to change. And now, that's all I'm doing. From here, I'm not going to tell. Get falling. Keep looking forward. Get all this to drop. Drop down the front of your chest. Really let everything drop down to your lower dantian. Okay? And now, you know, you do the same thing. See what happens. And see what happens. And that's what you're after. This is one I think just by itself you should test separately without doing all the rest of it, because this lies at the core of all these things. For example, right now over there, the Northern California Aikido Association having their big yearly meeting. Okay? They're always telling you, drop everything down here. Oh, karate in Japan. You do karate in Japan. Hara! Boom, no games about it, man. Make your hara strong. Make your belly. But if you want to get down, it's always talking about dropping. It's always talking about sinking. When you really feel somebody, do you get tensing up like this, or you kind of settle into your body to feel them? Question, what do you do? Think about the last time you really feel somebody. I think you sink. Okay? Well, guess what? You got to do the same thing to feel yourself. Okay? It's easy to recognize externally. So let's get up and let's test it. Let's go. In Tai Chi, for example, the phrase that's used, and the Xingyi uses it too, and so does Bagua, Chen Jian Dui Zhou. Okay, Chen Jian means the shoulder sinks. Now, Dui Zhou, I don't know. I don't know of a good English word for Dui, because Dui has a couple, but the idea of the elbows digging in, the idea is it's not just the elbows dropping, it's a dropping, it's kind of a digging. But I want you to watch this. If I have my hand to a certain point in space, can you see this? Look at my shoulder right now. But if all of a sudden I start dropping that elbow forward, you see how it takes the elbow forward, but it does something else. Like this, my shoulder and my elbow are kind of two different things. When you actually drop the elbow, so it causes the shoulder to come out of the spine, and that spine from the shoulder then goes to the elbow, that then naturally transfers to the hand. So you could think of the elbows as when a person's a high wire walker, they have the pole they hold, right? There's the elbow, the middle, which is the shoulder, and the two ends, which is the hand. So it's kind of the balance beam of the body. Like some person was asking, well, how do you make the arms connect to the waist? Well, it's all kind of part of this. That if you take this sort of a position, if I just kind of have my elbow sink, that can do something. But the thing of it's not just sinking. So you get this. You have your spine. Can you all watch my shoulder sinking? But if you really get this, the reason why they talk about the edges of the shoulder in this particular thing, it doesn't have to be, because it's more than that. Again, come here, Isaac. I just want to, point these things out in the body, because if I point it out on me, you may or may not be clear. Can you take your shoulder off? Take your shirt off, sorry. Your shoulder off. Yeah. It's okay. It's a long day. Here we go. All right. Now watch. If you take the shoulder here, right? You're talking about the edges of the shoulder, the side, because if your shoulder's going to connect and hold to your body, look what my hand's doing. Can you see how this is going right through his legs, yes or no? That meant that now his shoulder is in his feet. The energy of his spine actually comes out like this, look. Get back here, because I'm only so long. Keep your arm out there. Look, see your spine? To get the shoulder to sink, watch my hand, because this is basically what's happening. You see this? This is what you're doing with your mind inside your body. Look what's happening to his legs. Do you see him being nailed into the floor? Okay, one more time. Do it, just face the other direction, because I think you're just kind of a little tired this way. Now, listen, if you want to see this, you have to stand up where you can see his feet, as well as his legs, as well as his arm. And I don't think you can do that through a chair, unless you're just, slick, really slick, seriously slick. Now watch this. If I just take his shoulder, see that coming down the way it's coming down the side of his body, yes or no? Now look at his feet. What's this doing? You see how this is going right down into his feet?
Yes.
Now, if you want to ask the question, well, how do you get your arms to connect to your feet?
That's it.
Gotta do this. I mean, I don't say that's all there is to it, because there's other things. There's the Cohen thing. There's the way that you wrap in here to connect to your arm. There's a few other connections, but this is the granddaddy. Okay, that's mama. No mama, no baby. Back, 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 back. There you go. Okay, so now, but it's not just going from the shoulder. Second time I'm showing this. You have your spine, right? The root of your shoulder is your spine. Yes or no? Below these vertebrae, and I'm telling you, your shoulder's going to flop around in the air like a, like a feather blowing in the wind. But, see where I am here? Spine. See this area? Because see, this is your shoulder blade, but your shoulder blade is still part of your shoulder. In Chinese, they have the term jian, and jian actually includes the whole thing. See his spine? Now again, watch his foot and watch his leg. And again, do yourself, don't let yourself physically, don't let your ass go down. See here? Can you all see how this is also part of the dropping? Yes or no? It's not just from here. It's also from the spine. Yes? How are we doing? Got it? We're not done yet. Watch. It says drop from the edges of the shoulder. Look. I'm just telling you what this thing, look. How are we doing? Now watch. Till it gets to your hip. Now is that pretty much putting his foot in the ground? Now they have another thing in Xingyi which isn't part of it, and it's called the 6 combinations of the body. Let's just talk about the external combinations. Shoulder, hip, elbow, knee, hand, foot. How are we doing? But But if we're talking from here, well, you see, it actually even goes further than that. Edges of the shoulder. Yes? So you got this edge, yes or no? How are we doing? Another edge. Isn't your armpit on the edge of your body? Now watch. Drop all this, Isaac. Get into your foot as much as you can. Now watch. See from here? Remember that shoulder's nest? Still the shoulder. From the shoulder's nest, look. Through the armpit. It's dropping him into his legs even more, isn't it? 2 for the price of 1. Every person who writes a book, you have to realize something. The Chinese, classic Chinese, was what they call a terse language. A lot of it was based upon these 4-character kind of phrases. The only thing is that these 4-character phrases, very often, the idea that was embedded within the 4-character phrases, if it were a book in English, would be about 5 chapters long. Can you follow me? It's not that it's just, English we have simple, this is a sentence, and the sentence means this, and the title means, but Chinese doesn't quite work that way. It's a different thing because a character is not a word. It's a symbol, and a symbol can actually encode within it God knows how many words. Can you all follow me? That is the nature of how the language is. So if you ever want to learn Chinese, you want to learn written Chinese, you don't think verbally anymore. You do, but you think of what that image and all that it could imply. And as a matter of fact, if you go in Chinese dictionary, well, this character means, and you get a really old classical dictionary, it goes, keeps on going down and down and down. Okay? Is that true, what I'm saying?
Sure.
Is that true? Okay? 2 Chinese guys are telling you, you know, I mean, it's how it works. So it's not the same as English. No, I mean, am I saying it how it is? That's all I'm asking. Just say they can hear you. I mean, you know.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I'm trying to tell you. I know most people aren't familiar with Chinese. I mean, you know, hell, you know, it really bears something in mind. We're familiar with a lot of the other language, like India and everything from India. You know why? From Rome or from Alexandria, you could take a boat to southern India. We did not, the West did not work out how to go around the Horn of Africa. And the only other way, beside going around the Horn of Africa, which I mentioned was a very long sea journey, but at least it was a direct one, that you could get to China from Europe, was to walk over the Himalayas. I'll tell you what, it wasn't popular. Walking over the Himalayas by foot and by horse, I'm telling you, is a scene. That's why almost everything the West had about China only occurred after, to a great degree, the rise of Islam. Because Islam was kind of in the middle, and so they didn't have to go quite as far. That's what it came down to. It wasn't, and they still had to go thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of miles. But at least they cut 5,000 or 6,000 miles out before they started. That helped. Get back here. Now, shoulder. Okay? Shoulder. You got this? Shoulder. Now, shoulder includes shoulder blade. Is your shoulder blade also part of your shoulder? As a matter of fact, to be quite accurate, the shoulder blade is the root of your shoulder. You can move any other part of your shoulder and not move your shoulder blade, but if you move your shoulder blade, it will activate every other part of your shoulder moving. If you take your arm out, you can not move your shoulder blade. You move your shoulder blade, the rest of your arm has got no choice but to follow. Okay? So it is the pillars upon which the edifice stands. So now watch again. We're talking about syncing. And again, this is all, if you just watch me before I do this on him, this is what it looks like. Did you all watch how it seemed like I just dropped into my legs? Well, this is part of it. It's an absolute part of it, no maybes. And we're not even to the elbow yet. So here, come back in here. You have to go a little bit slower with this. It doesn't make any sense. You see a shoulder blade? Now watch. Remember 6 combination? Shoulder, hip. And by hip, they mean ass. That's the back side of the hip. Do you see him go into his leg more? Yes or no? Look. Look from the side. Put your other foot forward. Look, if I do this, can you watch him go down into his legs more? Now, what if he did it with like all the directions at once? So the first one you start off with is more or less, can you get the sense of your shoulder sinking down to your side of your hip. Now, can you get the front here, shoulder's nest? Can you get that sinking to your quad? Can you get your shoulder blade sinking down to your butt? And the actual tip of the shoulder, can you just have the sense of that going right through the middle of your body? But anyway, boom, the two pillars dropping down. That's falling. So let's try it. Try it with each of them. Like, you know, try it with first just this going down to the side, then try it with this going down, then try it with this going down. Each one of them, see. See what happens, and then do yourself a favor. See what happens if you do 2 of them at once or 3 of them at once, and see what happens. So the next thing is we have to deal with Dui-Jiu. And this again, Art, where'd Art go? Somewhere. Going back to your question, first of all, this whole sinking of the shoulders thing joins your arm to your waist. But now you have the elbows should join your arms to your waist as well before we get into it. There's a phrase in Xingyi that's called the elbows dig into the body. Okay, now what does that mean? Is that your elbows should have the sense almost like they're digging into your sides and locking into it. So it's almost as though they hold your waist. So instead of your waist, let's say, being floppy, whatever, this thing of when you go this way, here, right in the middle where your midriff is, boom, the elbows actually lock it. So, I don't know, come here, Isaac, this is a tricky one. Maybe you can tell him, because this is really, fits the unusual category, but maybe if you do it, if he's holding my waist, right? So, right now, don't let my waist move. Don't. Okay. Period. Like, you know, whatever you want to. Okay, great. Now, if I just try and turn my waist and he stops me, he can put some resistance. And it's a bit. But now watch something. Look at my elbows. See if you can see it. You may even see the pressure. You see how my elbows are digging into my side? Now when I turn, lots of luck in stopping me. Yeah. I mean that. So they call this digging the elbows.
Well, that's I could feel it when you did that. There was like a, I don't know, it just kind of went in a little bit.
Yeah. So what you're looking at as an example of this and the place where it is, okay, so let me just show this as a thing. We'll do it on this side, no one can see it. I mean, they're facing that way. Okay, so if I want to, let's say, my hand's here, and I want to move them, question, and don't let me resist. Now, if I use my arm, how strong is it? How big is it? But my waist, I think you all can agree, is significantly bigger than my arm. Now, if I use my waist, don't resist, don't let me. If I resist, still, but if I dig my elbow into my waist like this, I can move them with no problem because my whole body's inside of it. And your waist then obviously links to your legs. So they call this, and it's not done by like squishing this way. It's that this dropping of the elbows, look at me, this dropping, it's almost as though it like puts clamps right into the middle of your waist. How are we doing? That's all I can tell you. And the feeling of it, to a certain degree, it's not quite, but come here, and your back will like this, so you're going to be happy. Bend over a little bit. So you all, the other way, because people just really, this X-ray vision thing's very hard. So you want to like get your, you know, to massage someone. If you do it to where you clamp in, you really, I mean, you want to, I mean, that's really how you should be rolfed. I'm serious. That's, you know, they have techniques where they do that in Tuina. I mean, you just pull a fascia any way you want. So the point here is that, can you all see this? I mean, I'm hoping, because it's tricky, but at least have the idea. It's not that you're, I mean, there is also another technique in Xingyi where the elbows go sideways this way, but at the end it's not just sideways, it's down. That's what locks it all the way into the lines here. How are we doing? Do you all have that? So I'm just mentioning this for what it's worth. And you'll use this later on when a person pushes on you. But here's the next thing, Dui-Jiu. Okay, so again, many of you have heard me do this, and you know, I'm not doing it just for fun, I'm doing it for the point. The Dembone song, okay? The spine bone connected to the shoulder bone. Now, if you have that shoulder really going out like that, the energy from your spine is flowing through your shoulder. Can we all go for that? But now, if it's not like water going down some sort of a thing, either it can continue its momentum or it can get diverted. If it's not going to get diverted, it has to be directed. Okay, so now watch. The shoulder bone connected to the elbow bone. Now, if you have just the elbow going down, it's connecting to your spine. And that will give you a certain amount of strength. But if it now connects to your waist, the whole power that's inside your whole torso flows through your elbow. So part of this is saying that spine bone connected to the shoulder bone. The shoulder bone, watch, connected to the, look at this, elbow bone. Can you see how this is literally pulling right out? The elbow bone connected to the waist bone. Now, basically, the strength of your entire body's here. The elbow bone connected to the, just watch, the ham bone. So what is it? Juice is flowing from here. You have to then get it so it goes the hand and out. But if you don't do all these procedures, what you just have is you just have your hand kind of staying out in the air, and you just have whatever it would be if you stuck your arms out there. So you have to actually cause an internal pressure that makes it go all the way out this way. So here, look, just watch. If I do this very slowly, I'm gonna really super exaggerate this. You would not do what I'm doing, but actually, they actually do this in 8 Drunken Immortals just for fun. They have whole ways, they just mess with it. But still, same principles. But look. Spine bone connected to the shoulder bone. Can you all see that? But now, the shoulder bone, sink. The elbow, squeeze out the toothpaste, lock. Now, both of them, from the elbow that's out, open the elbow and watch it come out to the hands. So what you're going to do now is, this is Chen Jian Duizhou. So what you're going to do is that Isaac is going to come over here. Same thing, get in your blessed position. Well, this way, because just so they can see, that's all. Is it a better angle? Okay, cool. So now watch. So he gets in on a hand, because see, they can't see through your body. It's this X-ray vision. I'm telling you, it's a bitch. Now watch. So he's got it. So the first thing is he just does normally. He just whatever. Resist. Cool. Now, let's go. Let's do it, baby. Down. Get your shoulder in your butt. Come on. Now, from there, when it's in your shoulder now, really get it out to the elbow. And now let's see what happens. Come on. That's it. You just have to get the angle right. Can you see how much stronger that is, folks? Okay, we've come now pretty much to the end of this. And I think that although there's another 2 of the 7 words about Xingyi, I really don't think we have the time to go into it. One of it is the 3 arcings. The arms must arc like a bow. And for example, in Taiji Chuan, that's called Dishanbei Wugong. The body has 5 bows, and they're only talking about the arms, but they actually are talking about the 5 bows. The legs must curve in a continuous arc. Again, that is also the 5 bows. And the wrists press outward, and that's talking about the bowing of the wrist. So this is all part of, you have the same thing, you know, the term in Taiji Chuan more or less sums it up. It's called Yishanbei Wugong. The body has 5 bows. Your spine, 2 arms, 2 legs. The only thing is that then it also gets subdivided into what are the bows in fingers, wrist, elbow, shoulder, ribs. It goes into how the bows work in the entire body. And that's a pretty basic technique, very important internal technique, and one which actually, frankly speaking, by itself would be a workshop for a weekend with nothing else. I mean that. I mean, it's kind of a big deal. And then the last words they have are stuff which, again, is beyond the scope. The 3 integrations. The next must be integrated in a vertical fashion. To actually understand that, you have to understand the relationship between the head, neck, and spine, and the internal organs, which is all involved in that statement. The body movement must be integrated to differentiate the four directions. How anytime you are moving, your body actually, well, the four direction actually is two things. It's up, down, left, right. Okay, and it's also forward, backwards, up, down. So the four directions, actually, there's two sets of them for all practical purposes. And that's a tricky thing. That's about how your body is actually, even though it appears to be you're only moving in one direction, it's actually covering the whole space around you. And the legs and knees must be integrated below like the roots of a tree. And that's, again, that's got a lot of things. I don't even want to start. That would go a bit far. But anyway, another time, another place, if it's possible, as the expression goes. And that's fair enough. Now, the other thing I would like to do for a bit before at the end of this, I'm going to have Isaac just, when we clear the chairs away, just have you do Pichen with him for half an hour. And the way it's going to work is that in those three spots, just make it one breath, one very deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. Do Pichen and do it for 9 breaths. So you get a sense of what it's like to do Santi. Remember what I said is that when it was classically taught, you only kind of like, you got in the stance on one side, you got in the other, so you could start to build the steel, but then you also need to get rid of the stagnancy. Well, I think for most people, the fact is that that old method of training is although wonderful, requires more time than most people have if you're going to get right down to it. So, or they're willing to expend on it. So the method I just described is one that I think is exceedingly practical. Bearing in mind that where you stop for one breath, you also could stop for 2 or for 3. And as I said before, you also can take, if you want to take it further, 9 breaths could become 18 or 27. And that's your call. And then I think if you have that, you'll have a Santi practice that's quite valuable. As I said, that's the thing that I really, highly encourage my kids to do. And if I think all I can say is that it's my hope that I've done as well for you as I would have done for my own family. And they were here just as well because, I'm not tribal. My tribe, your tribe. I'm really quite universal, and so I think that, I would do my best to pass it on. I hope you learn something. What I want to do now is just for a moment, just for a few seconds, is I did a little bit with application showing just about, Pichen, and I did about with Zhuan Quan. I'm going to do Beng Quan. Now, there's a number. Beng Quan is the wood element. And the phrase that's used for it is that wood, in that sense, it grows up. And the big thing that Beng Quan is talking about is the way a blade of grass will grow through concrete, or a seed will like go right through a rock and come out eventually. The biggest thing about Beng Quan is Beng Quan includes, on one level, this complete backward movement and forward movement. It's like, they call it pulling pulleys. But also, I just want to show you that a lot of these principles I was discussing, that everything that goes in Pichen also then goes into Beng Quan. I also should mention that in Xingyi there were lots of people who were super famous for Beng Quan, taking down virtually everybody. And including Guo Yunshan and Xiang Yunxiang. And the attack technique, which is primarily what they did, is they just did Pichen, got the person's arm, came right into Beng Quan, and that was it. It was over. That was it. In China in the 1800s, Beng Quan was considered to be the punch. Okay? Forget about the Wing Chun half-inch punch, the punch. And when they had a competition in the 30s, when my teacher was in, and they finally made the Xingyi, three top people, Xingyi winners, it was not because they could kill people better, but they had this extreme willingness to do it. And most of it, Beng Quan is just, they either basically did Pichen and snapped the person's neck, or they did Beng Quan, and that was it. Really quite it. So anyway, I'm not trying, it's the best thing. What I will say is for punching technique, it's pretty good. I mean, you know, did karate, did Shaolin. I mean, you all can see I got, you know, those of you who watch me, I got a pretty good punch. And I'm telling you, Bung Chuan's good. It's good. Really. Just for a punch, good punch. Really, no complaints. That's my attitude. And I've done a lot of kind of punching. The Bung Chuan that my first teacher, Wang Shujing, did was this. Okay? He killed, I'm told, 40 people in challenge matches, mostly with that technique. Okay? Didn't knock him out. Worse. So, what is that thing about? Looks really simple, doesn't it? I mean, really, in one sense, how simple? Is that nice, you know? Nothing complicated? Look, watch me. Okay, so you will notice, what does this have in common with Pichuan? Got the half step in there, isn't it? Do you got that at the end? What is the end when it goes boom, right? Yes? So, as an example, what this is, and just come up here. Come here, Isaac, and whatever. Don't worry, I'm going to take it easy. He's tired. It's okay.
It's been a long week.
It's been a long week. Okay, no problem. If it was someone who was bigger than you, I'd pick on you, but you're big, you know. Fair. So now watch something. He's going to come at me. Look what my hand just did. Just watch. See what just happened to him? Here, come in with that hand. I'll make it even more obvious. You see this? Now you see my elbows digging in? What's that doing to him? Now watch, I'm not done yet. Look. See, even if he tries to block it, look what I'm doing to his body. I'm shredding it. Can you see this? Okay, so that's one technique. That's Bung Chuan. Bung Chuan's very much known for, look, I'll just do it. I'll do it on very gently. Look. Bung Chuan always is a punch. One, remember I said about the double impact? 1, 2. The first one opens up their internal organs, and the second one crushes them. That's why it's called crushing fist. This motion here, unlike a punch that's meant to go boom or boom, this thing is designed to, when it gets in, it literally crushes what it hits. It crushes the bones. It screws them in until they just, everything goes, rends it. Yes? Now that one, for example, the stuff I learned with Hong Yixiang, if he attacks me, he used to do this stuff all the time. Okay? So what Hong also liked to do, right? Yeah, punch with this one, just so it's more visible. What I'm seeing is that, you know, I don't see how you can see through him. Look, just watch, look. See this here? Boom. So again, watch. That didn't work, he kind of got out of the way. The next one, you step in. And that the form of that is this. Okay? So, what you have is that, and this is something where the phrase, well, you can't knock somebody out with the weight on your back leg. You can if you get that power to come up from the ground. Next one, look, see the half step? Boom. Yes? Boom. Boom. Now you have a big thing with Bung Chuan, two things. It's done two ways. One way is it's commonly done is contact, I'll do this way so it's visible. Contact the person's arm. Can you see this? Yes or no? Look. See that bending the elbow? Boom. Release. It's not that you're trying to just cut an angle and hit him. You want to touch his arms. You want to know where they are, you want to know how they are, so that if you do it, you can move somewhere else if you have to. Okay? So, this is one thing. Second thing that's done a lot in Bung Chuan, which is similar to fencing, is that if you catch a hand, look, watch me. See that opening up? Boom, and you step. Now notice I'm always doing this half step thing. Okay. Now, for example, what my teacher Liu Hongjie liked to do is he liked to use the really big one because he was a little guy, and if you're little, you got to cover a lot of ground. But a lot of people use this, and this technique goes like this. Now, the thing about it is that, which you might not get, so let's say, like, you know, where Stacy, you kind of feel you're at a safe distance, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you really, you cover ground. Even you have things like you did Shotokan, you know, and you go, you can't cover this kind of ground. That is a step that covers the most amount of ground a punch can cover. You can't cover more. So it's like so. See here, look. 1, 2, 3. Covers a lot of ground. Now you have a second thing you do with Bung Chun all the time. And that's, for example, if he hits, you touch. You see this here? And you, remember that thing here? You create an opening by bending down, and then boom, you go right through. So you actually come underneath their arm. And I actually don't know of another martial art that does that. That comes underneath their arm. This one does. So I'm just showing you that to kind of show you this other stuff in Xing Yi beside this and beside this. Okay? I don't teach Xing Yi that much these days, mostly because not that many people know about it. But I think that San Ti is an amazingly valuable thing, whether you're into martial arts or not. So I hope it's been valuable for you. I had 3 main teachers in Xing Yi. 4, actually. First one was Wang Shujing. The second was Kenichi Sawai, who did Yitren. The third one was Hong Yishang. And the fourth one was Liu Hongjie, who, frankly speaking, in my opinion, I learned more than I did from all the other ones put together. But all these guys were like real old school. They really, there was nothing new age about them. As a matter of fact, Liu was relatively open-minded. The other ones, I mean, you really could ask, what part of the 12th century do you come from? But that was, because of that, they did it for what it was. They didn't do it for any other reason than what it was. And what I've tried to do is just at least show you the beginning of what it is. Okay? So all I can say is this weekend was brought to you by Liu Hongjie, without which I wouldn't be teaching it. And think about him, because he was a very kind man, and without which the particular bridge to Taoism that I personally happen to embody would have never come about. So that's about all I can say. Anyway, with all that, I want to thank you. It's been a great pleasure, and thank you very much.